sometimes these Indian movies come out of nowhere. Like, there'll be nothing on the calendar. And then Thursday comes, and you're like, oh, what is this one called? And this one is called Court, State versus a Nobody. Is this a potent movie, not just for India, but for the world? Yes. Yes, it is. Well, maybe except for some nations that marry 13-year-olds. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing Court, State versus Nobody. This is pretty simple premise. You have a asshole. I mean, person that brother-in-law that does not want to hurt the family name because the original father died, and so there's still the wife and the multiple kids. But he is just a asshole through in and throughout. Abuses the family and makes sure if he doesn't approve, he will make the whole town pay for it. And this one, girl, boy, the boy caste system very low with the laborers. I wouldn't say she's really high up, but I would say about middle class overall from what I get from this. He doesn't like it. He's in jail, and now people are aligned to keep him in jail for rape. And then for this law specifically in India, where it's talking about, having sex or doing anything with a minor is automatically part of this act. And this brings a lot of dilemmas of like, someone that's 17 years old and 11 months, what makes that 1 month difference from an 18-year-old? Does that really change someone's maturity or their actual, thought processes of going into a loving relationship? So, did I like this movie? I did. Yes, can some people say it's very formulaic? It's nothing new. It does, what it's supposed to do, right? And some people are saying, okay, well, that's all it does. Okay, but it still kept me entertained. This is an Indian movie that's about, I think, 2.5 hours, and I never wanted to look at my watch. I was never bored. Okay, well, there's maybe something a little bit in the middle. I mean, in the beginning, I was bored, but I was just always intrigued about what was going to happen next, who was going to get in trouble, who was going to tell the lie, who was going to try to find the truth. And yes, like I said, you know where the story's going to go with some of the side characters like not believing in themselves. Who's this character? And I do like that there's not like a back love story, because the main point of this movie is these two younger lovers, and they could have done something in the background, which they didn't, and I truly dug that. Like I said, the one big negative I would say in the beginning is trying to get the right footing for the movie. They do like focus on this loving relationship, with I understand that they kind of want to, flesh it out of like, they never met for a long time. They finally met, and it's finally love at first sight and things like that. So I understand that they wanted to do that, but I feel like if they took maybe 10 minutes out of that whole relationship, that really wouldn't have changed the movie through and throughout. You would still get the nitty grittiness of this. And I kind of knew when going in and where it was going, I'm like, okay, the second half of this movie, I'm going to enjoy a hell of a lot more than the first half. And I enjoyed it a lot, but it's not like a huge, like, gasping hole where it's like one part sucks and one part is amazing. They both have their great parts, and I do think that the second half, when it gets to the courtroom drama, it's really good. Again, though, when you say it's really good, there's not a lot of bumps in the road. The bumps in the road are something where you're just like, okay, that's something, but you just got to ask the right questions, and they do it in a very, I would say, minimalistic way, where it's like, hey, the reason why I didn't do this because of XYZ, you're just too, changing your answer, change your answer on the spot. And sometimes it's something you need to think about of why someone wants to do what they want to do. And it really brings that up. And what is really, good though in this movie is bringing up that interesting messaging. And I think that's what makes this movie better. It's not a murder case. It's not, anything like that. It is a no joke kind of a sexual assault case to the minimalist extent of, is it really assault, and who has the power in these towns? And when looking at this, I think this is a universal message, not just an Indian message, not just an American message. It's about class and who you are. Like, I look in Europe right now, think about sexual assaults. How many boys and girls had the Swedish police and the UK police be like, shut up, we are not going to talk about this because of their skin color, because of their culture, because in the Muslim culture, why do you think there's a lot of PTSD for soldiers walking in on Muslim men raping boys? It's a true thing. And so that happened in the UK, not just with boys, but with girls. And then every time the girls would come in, the police are so scared to be called racist for rape. What the fucking fuck? Okay? And that's the same way here as well, where it's like, oh, an illegal that did something bad, no bail. 13 times. Oh, they finally killed someone. Maybe it's time. And that kind of is the same way in this story where it's like, oh, power, power, power. I don't like that person, or I don't want to make this because of that simple class system. It really brings that message home. And also corrupt lawyers. And it makes you wonder, are a lot of lawyers just in for it? Like, are they together where it's like, hey, let's make a good case, but, I'm going to win this one because I want my record to look good. And it's not just this story. It's Lincoln Lawyer. It's the one with Law-Abiding Citizen. So it's just things like that where you're just like, man, sleaziness throughout. Cops taking bribes, lawyers taking bribes, the judicial system taking bribes. And it's the same way in America. I'm not going to act like, oh my God, India is so corrupt. No, $20, there's some judges out there who have a political agenda. No ifs, ands, or buts. Cops, political agenda. Lawyers, political agendas. If, ands, or buts, there is no denying it. It happens. It truly fucking sucks. And with this story, though, about, the age difference, I find that fascinating because, like, in the military and things like that with fraternization, and if it's like a second lieutenant and then a senior airman, even though they're the same age and not in the same flight or squadron, should that still be, fraternization? Yes, there's an officer and a senior airman, but they're the same age. They're not in the chain of command. So is that, like, it's one of those, like, makes you think as a lawyer. Yes, fraternization is wrong. Officer and enlisted. However, they're not the same chain. They know, maybe they didn't know there before. Maybe it is true love. So there's little things like that where it's a nuance where it's like a catch-22 of like, do we really need to know the whole story? Because is it really that bad when you think about it? Like, I understand if it's like a general officer and like a tech sergeant that's like an exec or something. Yeah, that's something fucked up. But things occur to this level. But I just think it's a well thought out story. It brings something new to the table where it's not violent. It just shows that, you know what? Sometimes court cases aren't as simple as close and shut. And there's dirty people everywhere in the world. If everyone's like, oh my God, Europe's better, South America's better, blah, 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 there's going to be shit sandwiches in every part of the world. So court, state versus a nobody will receive a 4 out of 5 with Futons, which equals at 80%. So see the critics and user scores gave this one. So we have one critic giving it a positive. Yes, it's not groundbreaking, but it does its job right. This is the first time director, and I think he has a good niche for this. I'll say for the only positive or, critique, make it a little bit more complex or more like, ooh, interesting, not like so cut and dry. Or not cut and dry, that's not the right word, but you know where the story is going to go kind of thing. Anyway, 80 positive. Chase Hike here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm thanks Futontopia. You Blue Tony. Stay watch for a great day. I'll watch this tape tomorrow, week from a month. And if not, every single freak one of you. Peace and love, peace and love. And yeah, not everything is black and white.